Okay, we are live.
All
Good
right.
afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our another Facebook Live. Today, it is my pleasure and my honor to have Christian, um, who I met at MTR. Christian is 27 years old, MTR rental operator who manages 40 furnished rental in the city of Buffalo, New York. He does not own any property. This is why I call them the rental rebel, and does this all with rental arbitrage and co-hosting. He is a passionate about everything to do with short-term rentals and mid-term rentals, and now coaches other to help them start and grow their mid-term rental business. Christian, welcome. Great to have
Levi,
you.
thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here today.
My pleasure, my honor, like I said. All right, let's start this conversation. What were your takeaways from MTR Summit? This is where we met.
Yeah, no, the MTR summit we attended I think in April, in San Diego, thrown by Jesse Vasquez. This was the second annual MTR summit, and I've been to both summits now. And both times, for me, is always just about like the networking and getting to meet everybody in the midterm rental space. There's just so much like passion and energy in this industry right now. And so for me, it's just a ton of fun to be able to get to go and just meet everyone who's in the business, whether they're starting out or you're meeting people who have dozens and dozens of units. So for me, that's always just the best part. It's just getting to meet everybody. Um, some of the key takeaways that I got were actually with the vendors. I think they had really great vendors this year. I ended up signing up with a new few vendors who was not using in the past, such as Host GPO, where they basically supplied like furnishings for short-term and mid-term rental operators. And I also ended up signing up with Baselane, who they do banking services specific for real estate investors. I haven't really gotten much of a chance to. I haven't like switched everything over to Baselane, but I signed up. I created an account and started like exploring some of their features. So for me, those were great takeaways, and those are like things that I'm going to be implementing into my business. And then besides that, it's just getting to meet everyone and just that energy. I get home and I'm just like ready to run through a wall and get to work.
Absolutely, like kind mind people, right? They say you're the average of 5 people you are friends with. So we
Mm-hmm.
went there to build our network. Your network is your net worth, right? So absolutely. Baseline, I had the Larissa on my previous Facebook Live. So she
Oh, she's
described
great.
about she's great. She said, Levi, when you're ready with your ADU and midterm rental, let me know. We will help you to get set it up and everything will be perfect. I'm like, okay, no problem.
Yeah, man.
Um, how did you start in MTR space?
Yeah, I started.
Tell me your
Um,
story, where you started, where you're right now.
yeah, like a lot of people in the MTR space, I actually originally started with STR with Airbnb. I started my first Airbnb when I was 21 years old. I had just dropped out of college. Um, I was going to school for business administration. I looked at the bill at the end of like the semester, and it was like whatever it was. It was like $12,000 or something for the semester. And I looked at the bill. I was like, that sucks. I like looked back at my experience. It's like, dude, college sucks. Like this is way expensive. This sucks. So I dropped out, and I came across this rental arbitrage model. Um, I think on like I don't know if it was Instagram or YouTube or something. And this was when I was 21, so this was about 2018. And when I heard about this model, I was like, okay, like I think that's something I could do because it was something I could start with basically with very little money, no experience. I didn't have to buy a property, and so I came across this model in 2018 and decided I was going. That's what I was going to do, and I started my first Airbnb in November of 2018. It took a lot to get that first unit. The first unit is always the hardest. I had to go and talk to probably over 20 landlords before I had a landlord that was willing to rent an apartment to me to arbitrage it. So that, I mean, that was basically how I got started. I had one arbitrage apartment in Buffalo, and then over the past basically 6 years, I've just kept rolling profits into the next one and next one, and now we're at 40.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, how did you overcome the fear of talking to somebody that you don't know? Number one. And number two is you postpone gratification, right? And you keep rolling and rolling. Why this mindset?
Yeah, so as far as overcoming the fear, dude, I was 21. I had no like money. I had literally no money. Literally, I had no experience. I had no connections, and I felt kind of like I had nothing to lose. Like I knew I had dropped out of college, and I just knew like I wanted to try my own thing or kind of start my own business. And the good thing about starting when you're young is like you're able
you have
to keep
time to recover. You have time to recover from mistakes.
And it's like I have my expenses were super low. I was living with like, you know, we had 4 roommates living in one house, so like my rent was super cheap, and like, you know what I mean, like I just kept my expenses super low. So the way I viewed it, it was really like not that risky in a way, because I mean, to start my first arbitrage unit, I started with $5,000, which I didn't even have.
Wow.
I didn't have the 5,000 though. I basically I partnered with a buddy, and he came with the 5,000. So no, I mean, overcoming like, it was just like I was just ready to take action. I just wanted to start something. You know what I mean? And so I was just drawn, like I was inspired, I guess, right? And so it's just like when you're inspired, like, dude, the fear, like that trumps the fear, like you know what I mean?
Absolutely, you have your goal that you want to reach, and everything in between is just another stepping stone to get to your goal.
Exactly right.
So let's play a quick role play here. Let's assume I'm a landlord, and I have a property for rent, and I don't know anything about midterm rental or corporate housing. How would you approach me?
Yeah. So, and for those who don't know, with rental arbitrage, basically what I'm doing is I'm renting apartments or renting a property from the landlord. I'm furnishing it and then subleasing it to my corporate clients, right? So if I were to approach a landlord and you know, about renting their apartment so that I can arbitrage it, I'd basically just let them know, hey, Mr. Landlord, my name's Christian. I'm with Buffalo Corporate Housing. We provide furnished rentals for traveling professionals. And basically the way I work with landlords is I rent their property, I furnish it, and then I sublease it to my corporate clients. Most of our clients, all of our clients are staying anywhere from a minimum of 1 month up to 6 months plus. And basically we're the best tenant you can ever have, because I pay my rent on time every single time. I never miss a rent payment, never made a late payment. We're taking care of the property, because in order for me to make money, your place actually has to be in great shape. So, you know, in between each tenant that we have coming in and out, the place is being professionally cleaned, and we're basically, I'm financially incentivized to take care of your place, as opposed to a traditional tenant who may or may not be taking care of your place. You know what I mean? Besides that, I'm willing to rent multiple properties at one time, and I'm also willing to sign multi-year lease agreements. So most of my lease agreements with my landlords look like are 3-year lease agreements that I'm signing. So they don't have to worry about vacancy down the line. You can feel confident knowing that you have a secured tenant in your building for at least the next 3 years. And my intention is always to continue to re-sign those leases. As long as you're happy, as long as we're happy, we're going to keep signing this, re-signing this lease. And you know, you don't have to worry about me moving out, or people, you know, like constantly turning over to different tenants. So, I mean, that's basically.
I love what you said. Financial incentive.
Yeah. I have to take care of the property.
Yeah.
Regardless if I want to or not. I have to,
So
because I'm subleasing it to my corporate clients, right?
okay, let's take. I love it. Let's take it through the couple more steps. So okay, let's assume you find a landlord that will agree. But how do you know if the area that you are gonna be renting is gonna be good for corporate housing? Do you do any research before? And then the second question is, if it doesn't work, what kind of exit strategy do you have? How do you agree with landlord? You sign 3 years contract. What is your exit strategy there?
Yeah, great questions. So first of all, as far as market research goes, I'm all in Buffalo, New York. We're a small to mid-sized city, I'd say. I think the city proper has a population of about 250,000. I'm born and raised in the city, so I know the city well, and I just happen to know I know like what is bringing midterm tenants to the area. So I'm focusing a lot on what are the MTR draws. So I know, for example, there's a few hospitals that are bringing in lots of travel nurses, right? We have some major universities that bring in lots of students. We have a few different companies that tend to bring in lots of employees or interns that come and travel, right? So it's a lot of it's just focusing on like who is bringing in this type of clientele, and then finding properties that are either like walking distance or within a short driving distance of those draws. So, for example, in the city of Buffalo, we have the downtown medical campus. They're bringing in dozens and dozens and dozens of travel nurses every single month. I basically drew a circle around that hospital, and I've rent now 17 apartments that are all within walking distance of that downtown medical campus. So it's literally just like, okay, this hospital is bringing in tons of travel nurses. They need housing. They're coming to work on 2 to 3 month contracts. They need furnished housing. So I'm just going to rent apartments that are walking distance to those hospitals. So that's a lot of the market. And then besides that, I'm looking at comps in the area. So I'm looking at comparable properties and seeing what other people are charging and things like that. But at this point, because I have a lot in this within one area, within one city, I'm not even doing that much like crazy market research. It's just based on my own portfolio. I just look at my own portfolio and see like what's doing well, where's doing well, and keep adding units.
And you're scaling your properties that are doing good. Okay, so you're minimizing your risk that way by knowing where the demand is. Okay, good.
For
But
sure.
what happened if you thought it's going to be demand, or you want to go to the new area, you sign a contract for 3 years, and now it doesn't work how you thought it's going to work?
A great question. So we do have actually in the lease agreements, in the master lease agreement that I'm signing with my landlord, we do have some exit strategies that are like negotiated into that lease agreement. So for one, we have a couple exit strategies that we agree on that allow me to responsibly break the lease if I need to. The first one is that I'm allowed to basically sell or transfer that master lease agreement to another operator. So that basically gives me the right or the ability to basically sell my business if I ever were to, wanted to, or say, for example, if I had a major life change and I need to, I can't
move to San Diego, come to San Diego.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. So I can sell. I have that right. Like I can sell that lease agreement and basically sell the business to a future operator who can take over operations for me with no interruption to rent payments to the landlord.
Mm-hmm.
The second exit strategy that we negotiate would be that if things are not working out for whatever reason, whether maybe I can't get the place rented or whatever, it's just not working out between the landlord and I. One thing that I can do, which I haven't had to implement yet, but we have, in case if I did, is I can find the landlord a traditional tenant to sign a fresh 1-year lease agreement and basically have that, that new tenant would become the new tenant for the landlord. So I would be responsible for finding them a new traditional tenant to sign a 1-year lease. So if things really aren't working out, I'll find them a new tenant, and that tenant will sign a 12-month lease, and that agreement will be between them. I am no longer, I would exit the deal in that way. I'd take my furniture and exit. I've never had to do that, but we have that as an exit strategy if needed.
Wow, amazing. And I'm guessing everything in your contract is being vetted by a lawyer, right, that you're working with? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And when you sign the lease with the landlord, do you sign lease as Christian Bauman or you sign as your corporation?
I sign under my LLC name.
Under your LLC name. Okay.
Yep.
I see.
So it's under the name of my LLC. When I was just starting out in the beginning, it was a lot harder, because I didn't have the reputation yet. So when I first started out, I actually did sign a couple of leases
Under your name?
Under the LLC and under my personal name as well. I basically personally guaranteed those lease agreements, which I don't know if I don't necessarily recommend it, but that's what I did in the beginning to get some, because that's what I needed to do to get some contracts at that time, and I did, and thankfully it worked out. And then now that we've re-signed the leases, we've re-signed those leases just under my corporation.
I understand. Yeah. Wow, thank you. Wow, just amazing. I like how you say respectfully you break the lease, right?
Responsibly, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we agree up front. This is if we need to break the lease. It's a 3-year lease agreement, and we have ways to responsibly break the lease in a way that doesn't negatively impact the landlord, and doesn't negatively financially impact the landlord.
I'm investing in real estate as well, but I'm a long-term investor, right? And I have properties that I actually bought it. And one of the many podcasts that I'm listening to, one thing to keep repeating over and over again is that before you even buy, you want to have a three exit strategy with the property that you're buying, right? Are you gonna flip it later, or are you gonna put a tenant there, or can you hold it? So all kind of different options before you buy. In your case, you're also thinking through that, how you're gonna exit, which I love it.
Exactly the same.
When you okay, so let's assume we agree, you signed the lease. Now you're renting next to the hospital. How do you attract, or how do you reach out to those nurses or doctors or whoever else? What kind of research are you doing, or what kind of outreach are you doing?
Yeah. So to start, a lot of them, when I was first starting, I was basically just listing the properties on Airbnb with a 30-night minimum. So some people might not realize, but Airbnb is amazing for getting midterm tenants. Actually, a fact that some people might not know is in Q4. It's a little bit old data, but Q4 of 2022, over 20% of gross revenue on Airbnb were from stays that were 28 days or longer. Okay, so that's $1 in $5 made on Airbnb were basically from midterm rental stays. So obviously, everyone relates to Airbnb like it's only a short-term rental platform. When they hear Airbnb, they think vacation rentals and short-term stays. But 20% of the revenue coming in through Airbnb is actually midterm stays. And I would assert that 20% of Airbnb hosts are not optimizing for picking up these midterm rental stays. So that's just to say, if you are like what I did was list all of our properties on Airbnb, optimize those Airbnb listings towards these midterm rental stays. We do that with a 30-night minimum. When I'm creating the listing, I'm speaking directly to my avatar. We're talking about, if you read out my listings, it almost wouldn't make sense if you're just someone that's looking for a weekend stay. My listings are talking about the hospitals nearby, and we're talking about and we're creating our listing in a way that specifically says we're catering your stay towards your multi-month stay. We're creating our listing to the
hotel
clarify that we are doing multi-month stays, right? So Airbnb is probably where I get about 50% of our bookings now. Besides
Five
that, we have
zero.
50, yeah.
Even today, okay.
Yeah, even today. Before it was like, I mean, in the beginning it was 80 to 90% where it was Airbnb.
Interesting.
Um, Even now it's still like 50%, which I'd like to continue to decrease that because Airbnb is expensive, and I do have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with Airbnb. But one thing you just can't deny is the amount of traffic that comes through Airbnb is insane. There's just so many people use that platform. Then besides that, I use Furnish Finder, and then I also just it's by building referral network relationships. I have relationships with lots of travel nurse recruiters now. So one thing to consider is that every travel nurse is working with a recruiter. In order to get these travel nurse contracts, they have to be working with a recruiter. So one thing we do is whenever we have a travel nurse that's staying with us, and after they've checked in and maybe they've been in the place for a week or two and they're comfortable and they're whatever settled in, we actually ask that travel nurse if they'd be willing to share their recruiter's contact information so that I can reach out to that recruiter and let that recruiter know, hey, we have furnished housing available. Any travel nurses you have coming to this area, please give them my contact information and we'll help them find housing. And that helps. So that way, so I've got a whole spreadsheet of recruiters who we work with that will send my contact info to anytime they send a travel nurse to Buffalo, they give that travel nurse my contact info. So
And
now we have a lot of that, like that.
sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
And those recruiters, are they local to Buffalo or not necessarily?
No, most of them they're like on the other side of the country somewhere. They're all over the place.
I know who to call next time.
Yeah, but they're all just sending. They're sending travel nurses to all different cities around the country. But whenever they do send a travel nurse to Buffalo, they know I'm the guy to go to for housing for the travel nurse.
I understand. Thank you. Next question. What is your portfolio looks like right now? Do you have single family? Do you have condos?
Yeah. So we're 40 units right now. A lot of my properties are studio apartments. They're more like they're affordable, budget-friendly studio apartments. They're clean, they're safe, they're comfortable, and they're affordable, right? So that's about 25 units, I think. We have 25, give or take, studio apartments, and then we do have a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments, and I have only a couple single family homes. I think maybe 3 or 4 single family homes in my portfolio, and then what else do I have? I've got like a duplex that I rent both units of. I've got I have a 4-unit building that I rent 3 out of the 4 units, which is if you're doing arbitrage, it's a great strategy to find, if you can find a duplex maybe that's just been renovated and they have both units vacant, you can rent both units, right? And that's an advantage for the landlord. And I've got a 5-unit building that I rent 3 out of the 5 units. And then I'm in a 24-unit building that I rent 11 out of the 24. And those are all studio apartments. They're all really small, like 300 square foot something, like 350 square foot apart. They're really tiny little apartments, but they're newly updated. They're clean, safe, walking distance to the hospitals, and they're affordable. So they work really well for the travel nurses.
Speaking of very clean and remodel and everything, couple of questions there, if you can give me more answers. Do you do your own remodeling if needed? Let's say you like the property, but it's a little bit outdated. The kitchen is old, maybe there's a carpet that you don't like. Do you do your own fixing, if you will? And then do you have any home design which you do?
So typically, no, I'm not doing any renovations on the property.
Yes.
I'm renting apartments as is. I expect, the ones that I'm renting, I expect them to be basically move-in ready. So I'm not, I have had, like in the beginning, I had some in the past where like I offered to like paint the apartments and stuff, but lately I don't even do that. I rent move-in ready apartments, and then I just get them furnished, right? Um, and then I don't use a professional designer for most of my places, or for any of them really. Again, like mine are more. I have a lot of affordable studio apartments, so there's not much need for like a design. It's not like a big 4-bedroom house,
Understood.
single family house. It's a 600 square foot studio apartment. And I have enough. I've actually, I've been doing this about 6 years now, and I've done a lot of just research and in design myself. So I've kind of invested. Read design books and took a design course as well. So I have some design. You might not know it by looking at me, but I do have some
You do.
design experience myself. So and also just furnishing so many apartments. Like I developed an eye a little bit. I'm not a professional designer by any means, but I've developed enough of an eye that I furnish for myself.
Got it. And then today there's different AIs we can use to see
Yeah.
to help you to design. Okay. And then we talk about furnitures, right? Do you rent? Do you buy them? Or how does it work for you? Do you have a list of what needs to be in your apartment?
Yeah, so I have a whole spreadsheet checklist of all the products that we need, of everything that we need in each apartment. Um, and I do buy pretty much. I buy all the furnishings. A lot of times, usually what I do is I buy most of the stuff online
Mm-hmm.
and have it shipped directly to the property, and then we just bring it all inside and assemble it all together. So that's how we do a lot. And then we'll go and buy some of the, some items locally. Um, but a lot of it, we just have it shipped right to the property, and then we unbox it and build it right there inside. Um, and yeah, I typically buy. The only cases where I have so far where I've rented furnishings is I've had some deals where I rented for example, I had one deal with a lady who she had 3 units. She was running them on Airbnb as a short-term rental, so they were already fully furnished. But she didn't want to run them anymore. She was busy. She was doing some other projects and stuff. So she rented the properties to me on a long-term lease and included the furnishings into the rental price. So in that case, because it was already furnished, I was renting the furniture.
I understand. Okay. What do you do with utilities? Are they included in your rental or you charge them separately?
So it's included in our pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, it's included in our pricing, but we do have in my lease agreement with my clients, we have a utility cap. So utilities are included up to X dollar amount per month, which is usually like it's a fair amount where it's like you shouldn't be going over whatever it is. It depends on the property, but you shouldn't be going over, for example, $200 a month in utilities. If you do, then we would charge that overage amount to the tenant. But it's happened very rarely, only a handful of times where we've had to actually do that.
Understood. And then how do you screen your potential tenants?
Yeah, we have a 3-step leasing process. First step is that they have to complete a screening check. I use keycheck.com to do the screening check. I like that for my midterm tenants because it does do a credit check, but it's a soft credit pull instead of a hard credit pull, which a lot of the travel nurses and the midterm tenants appreciate because, for example, a travel nurse is renting, they're going from city to city maybe multiple times a year. They don't want to do a hard credit inquiry every time they rent an apartment for 3 months. So I use keycheck.com for the screening check. It also does an eviction report and a background check for like criminal history. And then so that's the screening, and then we have they sign a lease agreement, and then that they submit payment of the security deposit and first month's rent to move in.
Understood. I heard some people saying they don't do any screening because the nurse, for example, comes with a contract, and usually hospitals already doing all the background check and criminal background check. So if it's good for the hospital, why do I need to bother? What are you saying about that? What are your thoughts?
I actually agree. So actually, for a lot of the travel nurses, we do also allow them to submit a copy of their contract instead of completing the screening check. So if they are a travel nurse with a contract to work at a hospital, at the specific hospital, they are we can pass the screening check.
And do you call the hospital or HR to validate that this is legit?
No, because their contract is actually with the recruiting agency. It's not actually even with the hospital. So the hospital usually, it wouldn't even be the right place to call. You would have to call the recruiting agency. But if they have that I mean, I've seen enough of the contracts. If they have the contract, then that's legit. You know.
Okay. So you feel comfortable. It's green light for you. Okay. Any additional amenities that you offer? Like, for example, I heard that some of them are offering, fresh food, or, nursing at work all the time. They have no time to go for shopping. So maybe they ship the box with pre-packaged and you just cook at home. Some of them are offering cars. If you don't want to bring your car, here we go. You can rent our car. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. No, I don't have any amenities like that. I mean, what I've found with the travel nurses in particular is they are they're budget friendly, or they're looking for budget. Like they're price sensitive. So a lot of times for them, what they're looking for, in my experience at least, is like they're there to work and they want to they're hustlers, man. I have so much respect for them. They are receiving a large stipend for housing, but most of them don't want to. Some of them, not all of them, but most of them don't want to spend that housing stipend, because whatever they don't spend, they get to keep.
Okay.
So what I found, a lot of them are kind of like price sensitive, and their main concern is being able to save as much money as they can while they're working. So I haven't really played around with offering those types of extra amenities, at least just, I guess, because of the type of client that I serve tends to be a little bit more price sensitive. I think that stuff makes a ton of sense maybe if you're doing higher end properties in California, in San Diego or something. That might make a lot of sense, where there's a budget of $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month. Then it makes a lot more sense. But a lot of my studios are $1,800 a month or something, and they're more, budget friendly. Yeah, I know you can.
What?
Yeah. No, I'll rent it for $1,000 and sublease it for $1,800 maybe, and so that, but I'm in a lower cost area. That's the benefit of being in a smaller to mid-sized city. That's not.
Got it. Let's talk about this for a second, if you don't mind. Not far away from me, there is a complex that the studio, they will rent you unfurnished at least $3,000. Okay. How do you determine how much to charge your potential tenant? Do you have like a percentage above you want, or dollar amount above you want?
Typically, what I'm looking at, where I'm located, I want to be able to see if I want to either 1.5 to 2 times the market rate rent. That might vary in a place like in a high cost of living area like San Diego. I don't know. I would find it tough. I don't think you're going to double. If the rent is $3,000 on a studio, I think it's going to be tough to double that.
No, I don't believe so.
Probably not. Like where I am, where I can rent a studio for $1,000, it's possible for me to sublease it for $2,000. When it's fully furnished and everything. But so besides that, what I would do is I would look at comps in the area. I'd go on Airbnb, look at monthly stays in the area at comparable properties. I'd go on Furnish Finder and look at comparable properties and see what they're charging, and see if there's a delta enough there that would, make you comfortable to rent those apartments.
Understood. Okay, we have 10 more minutes left. I want to push it forward. So many questions. Let's say somebody rented from you for 3 months, and then you already have another tenant that booked afterwards, but that first tenant needs to extend another week or 2 weeks, what do you do in this case? How do you handle this
So
kind of
actually,
situation?
before we accept a new booking, we actually always reach out to our current tenant and we will ask them, hey, do you have any intentions on extending your stay? Because we have someone else who's interested. So we'll actually reach out to our current tenant and basically give them that opportunity to extend before we accept any new reservations. So that kind of eliminates that. We'll just have that conversation like, hey, we have someone else who wants to rent the place. Do you intend on extending or
Understood.
not? And if they say no or yes, if they say yes, then they have priority. We extend them. We tell the other tenant, sorry, we'll help them find something else maybe.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Or if sometimes, a lot of times they just don't know. So we kind of just give them like, listen, you got to give us an answer within within the next couple days. Otherwise, we're gonna go ahead and accept the other reservation.
Understood. What happened the other way around? If the current tenant that signed the lease for 3 months, but they need to leave earlier because hospital doesn't need them anymore, how do you work there? Do you have any?
We typically do a 30 days notice to vacate. So if they have to break the lease, they're still responsible for the next 30 days. Once they give us notice, they're still responsible for the next 30 days
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the one?
We used to do 14 days. We've done 14 days in the past, but we've increased that now to 30 days.
Understood. How do you keep up with any legal or new local laws or regulation regarding midterm rentals?
I'm in the space. This is what I do full time every single day. So I'm constantly just talking and networking with people. So usually, if there's something, some sort of local ordinance or law happening, I usually hear about it pretty quickly because I'm just kind of plugged into the industry. So I don't know. I usually get I know right now New York State is actually looking at passing a new short-term rental law. I'll get emails about it, or someone will bring it to my attention. It's just by being, having that network and being kind of plugged into the industry.
Okay. What is the one tool or an app or changes in your business that you made that took your business to the next level?
Oh gosh. I would say for me, it's probably been Monday.com. I love Monday. Monday is like a project management software. But I use it to, it's not really a property management software. It's not something like there's a lot of like short-term rental PMS systems like Hospitable or whatever, OwnerRez or something like that. I don't use any of those. I use Monday.com. I basically created my own my own property management software using Monday.com. And I actually have a template for anyone who wants to use the property management software, like my Monday.com template. I have a template, so if you want it, you can just reach out to me on Facebook and I'll send it over. But yeah, so for me, it's been Monday, and we use that to manage everything in our business. All of our templates are saved in there, our SOPs. That's where we keep track of all of our reservations, check-in, check-out dates, how we do our cleaning schedule. Everything's in Monday.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay. And then I guess with 40 units, do you have any virtual assistants team?
I do. I've been really fortunate actually recently to hire my cousin, who he lives in Argentina. And my mom's originally from Argentina, so I have been really fortunate to hire him. Only like 3 or 4 months ago, I hired him, and he's been awesome. So he's come with zero like short-term rental or midterm experience, but he's learned so fast, and so over the past couple months, I've gotten him trained, and he's been doing a great job of helping manage all of our guest communications, just lots of administrative works, helping with manage my Facebook group and everything else. So that's been great. Before him, I did have a lady from the Philippines that worked for me for about a year, but which was my first ever virtual assistant, and I learned a lot of things from my first assistant. Like, you really have to have clear SOPs. There's a lot of upfront training that goes into having an effective virtual assistant. So that's something I learned from the first lady that I hired, because she was great. She was very smart. She was experienced, but I didn't do a great enough job of training her and do a great enough of having those systems and stuff in place for her to do her job effectively. So eventually I ended up letting her go and hiring my cousin, and that's been really great.
Amazing. Yes. 3 more questions, and so we can conclude this amazing value-packed interview. What is the one challenge right now in your MTR business that you're facing and you need maybe help?
Oh, dude.
Besides scaling and more doors.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Right now it's summer season. So it's like I'm feeling really blessed right now because it's summer. Like, I feel good because all of our units are booked. Every single one of our 40 doors right now is booked. Every single one. This winter was a lot tougher for me. We had a lot more vacancy in the winter. So I think moving forward, I'm kind of just preparing more so for the winter. I do have some seasonality in my business because I'm in Buffalo. We have really rough winters. Our summers are great, but our winters suck, man. It's hard. It's hard. There's not that many people that want to come to Buffalo in January, February, December. So I think this year I'm going to be more prepared for the winter season by having more cash reserves, but also just by being faster to reducing my pricing for the winter season, which I don't think I did a good enough job last winter. I kept my prices high, like as if it was the summer, and then ended up just having a lot of vacancy. So I would say that's one struggle right now for me, is seasonality. It's like everything's, for me, and that's not everywhere. Somewhere like San Diego, you might not have as much seasonality as I do in Buffalo, because you guys just have the great weather year round or whatever.
Yes, never thought about this.
Yeah. So for me, that's one struggle, is we do have seasonality. Everything's booked. I'm getting more. I have more inquiries. I have more leads than I have apartments.
So you're distributing to your network.
Yeah, and when that happens, I give them to my network and stuff. I give to other landlords and stuff. But it sucks. Like, when you have people that want to stay with you, and I don't have any housing for them. So I want to take on more apartments, but then I know if I take on more apartments, I'm risking those apartments being vacant in the winter. So that's a tough balance kind of to figure out the seasonality.
One approach you can do is take an idea from technical world. We have, for example, AWS, Amazon Web Services, where when you're busy, you can scale the system, whatever you need, up. And when you don't need it, you're just scaling down, meaning you don't pay for that. So maybe one approach could be you talk to the landlord, hey, I'm going to pay you more, $200 more during the summertime, but at the winter time, bring down the price, or I'll give you the property back to you, or something like that. Scale up, scale down.
That's something I've considered, is doing a lease match. So if I have someone that needs a 6-month lease, I'll rent the apartment just for 6 months from the landlord, get it furnished, and do it that way. So that is something that I've started to consider doing. So that's
interesting. I would like to see what kind of approach you can take, and maybe talk to other people who are seasonal as well. All right. Well, what is the best way to keep in touch with you? I know you have an amazing Facebook group. I know you help people also to start their own MTR. Can you please talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a Facebook group. It's called Grow and/or Start Your Midterm Rental Business. So I'd love to see you guys join that group. Besides that,
we'll put the link in the comment later.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll put the link in there. So Facebook is typically the best way to reach me. You can also reach me on Instagram. My user is Christian Bauman 88. So Facebook is really probably the best way to get a hold of me. Besides that, I do have a super affordable coaching program. It's right now it's only $149 a month. So if you're interested in learning about doing MTR arbitrage or co-hosting, that is a great resource. We do weekly calls in there every single week, and there's over 80 video modules and all sorts of great stuff like that. And that's it.
All right, appreciate it. We will put all the link in the comments below. Christian, again, it was my pleasure and honor to have you here today. We will be in touch and looking forward to meet you in the next summit. And
Thanks
if you
so much,
need,
Bobby.
my pleasure. If you need somebody who can coach you how to buy your first property, I'm your guy.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
Enjoy your weekend. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.